abilities. We did make one on gaining abilities, so if you haven't seen that, you might want to check that out first. But implementing abilities, it's going to be all about the different features we can put in. So individual features, you know, like one that I know we're going to do today is swapping between two characters. Almost like calling in an assist, or even we could do that. Now, I'm going to try and stay away from some AI stuff today. We don't have to, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm too prepared for that, to be completely honest, just because AI is still something that I'm trying to get the hang of in Blueprints. So we did basic stuff for our enemy and things, and we can handle it, but it would probably eat up a lot of time, so I'm probably going to try and avoid it unless we run out of ideas. But other than that sort of thing, we can do anything with abilities. We can do projectiles, we can do changes to our character's movement. Again, we're going to do the character swapping, being able to possess and unpossess other pawns. Hey, nice to see you! Thanks for coming by! How are you doing today? I'm going to actually mute my phone notifications, so hopefully I don't drop that. There we go. Cool. So, yeah, cool. We're just going to get started then. There's no real point waiting around. So let's just go back to where we were. I had equipped armor, and I was able to actually use the shop properly. Buy items, add them to our inventory, interact with the shop, and then have those items, or those pieces from the shop, you can actually use them after we purchase them. So for example, actually we have no money. Let's go and get some money. Let me keep the live chat open here. Yeah, thanks for coming by. It's great to see you. I'm very excited today about this stream. So we got our money. We can make our purchases. This one is broken, remember. And then we can... What am I? There we go. Whew, okay. And we can use these different items, technically. I mean, we don't have anything for the initial items that there were. But we had experience pickups and things like that that we could use, and things that we could buy that would actually go into our shop. Now, the shop item that was broken, it just is because of the overlap thing. And we ended up fixing it last time. But I'm not able to purchase it because Visual Studio hates me. I do want to see something real quick. Okay, cool. Alright, close that. So anyway, we're going to be stepping away from shops for a little bit today and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm very happy with where we got with it. I feel very satisfied with our inventory system. We even had things like the experience collectible and other things like that. So, and we have the consumables and using things of that nature. So, yeah, I feel pretty good with it. I'm very happy with what we were able to accomplish. And real YouTuber, hey, nice to see you. How's it going? And we're going to be getting into abilities. So I'll start with the swapping one because I know Everglades specifically had requested that one. And I said I would do it, so I want to do that one. But other than that, I'm up for any ideas. If I don't get any other comments or suggestions, that's perfectly fine. Don't feel obligated. I will be working on probably making a projectile for our character. And probably some other movement things. So we've done like changing the speed, double jumping, things like that. But I would also like to do maybe another attack. I know some of you mentioned like a lunge attack. Some mentioned like a dash lunge attack, and some mentioned like a jump attack, which I would probably need an animation for at least one of those. But we could make it work without. We'll figure that out when we get there, how we want to handle these things. So let's start by doing the character swapping, the pawn swapping. Now, say you have two characters you want to swap between. It could be mid combat, you know, or it could be I want to swap for this puzzle. However you're handling it is perfectly fine. What we will do is probably spawn two of them in the level and be able to just swap between them on a button press. Now, really, you know, the way you should do this is you should have certain abilities that you unlock, and then you can use them pressing the ability buttons, which is actually how we have it set up. So I don't think, you know, it's been a while, so I'll show you to refresh. Whoops. But we do actually have a double jump feature. So this is an ability that we unlocked. So you can see we can actually double jump. So we do have to unlock them by leveling up, and that's fine. But I think we have 1 or 2 buttons that we have to press. Let's see, maybe we didn't set that up. We do have ability 1. So yeah, I mean, you know, normally maybe you would either assign abilities or kind of have to select them because you don't want to add a key for every single one. I will go ahead and add another ability slot because I think you should have 2. But let me refresh myself on ability 1 if we did anything with it. Because we gained the abilities, but I can't remember. We gained the dash as well. So if we press 1, we dash. Is that correct? I do remember kind of setting this up. But it's been a while. I couldn't remember if we actually bound it to this or... Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so it was a basic dash for just one direction because we were just showing that we could use it. Okay, cool. Alright, so yeah, we'll upgrade this a bit. Hey all, nice you're doing the character swap tutorial. We're gonna do the character swap tutorial, so I knew you'd be excited about that one. So we'll get that done first, and then we'll do some other abilities, just some fun ones. Yeah, like I said, for those of you that weren't here, we will do for sure a projectile, and I'll probably update that dash to dash in the direction you're facing, as well as maybe, you know, do a little bit more, or maybe even be a dash that's an attack. Like if you're dashing and you run into them, then you hurt the enemy, something like that. We'll do at least those things. We can do others. If we get sidetracked, you know, we can always come back later, but we're gonna start with the character swapping tutorial. So we already have the usability 1, or well, we have ability 1. Let me show you what I mean here. And we assign that to be dash. Now we can keep that as dash. If we want to keep doing other abilities in the future though, you know, you're probably going to want to have to assign abilities, not just force one or the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have ability 1 here, and I might switch out this action for the correct function. I am going to add at least a second ability because I feel like 2 abilities is not ridiculous for keyboard, controller, whatever. 2 abilities is probably good. So I'm gonna have to make a function here, and we won't set up like an ability function yet. We'll just be direct with it. So let's do character swap, because right now it's all about implementing the abilities. So we can do dash and character swap. Let's make a character swap function. A cool attack would be a sequence jump, 45 degrees downward kick drill that stun knocks the enemy backwards. You know, that would be a cool attack. We could absolutely do something like that, for real. I would probably want an animation to go along with it, because a lot of times root motion would be what handles the actual the movement of the jump and things like that. However, we could actually do something like that. I know it got brought up last time about like some sort of jump attack, so we might do that. Oh, we had things like double damage and things like that too. That would be good, like a damage modifier. So really, if this was like an ability that we unlock, we probably should assign it in here when we get to a certain level. But I'm actually going to kind of just do this, I think. Just kind of wing it as a character swap thing, because I feel like it's more of a key feature. It would be actually like, oh, I can just swap between these characters at any time. That's kind of how I'm envisioning it in my brain. So we're going to make it that way. Obviously, if you're following this, then you can make it however you'd like. I'm going to make it like right here, under the other abilities. We don't really need to make it blueprint callable, so I would just do character swap. Oops. And depending, you know, if you have more than one character, you probably want to swap to like an index of a character. We're going to leave it like this for now. And we will go ahead and make this. We'll make it probably at the bottom here. Bloodstained had something like that where you jump and kick down. That is true. That is true. They did have... Yeah, Bloodstained is really good. And they did have that attack. You're absolutely correct. Castlevania actually has one as well. Not quite the drill kick like that. At least not that I'm thinking of right now. But I believe it is. It's been a while, so I apologize. I can't remember. Was it? It might have been Harmony of Despair. It's been a long time. But there was at least one where you could do a jump kick that was kind of similar to that. And yes, the games are just amazing. Castlevania and Bloodstained. Oh, quality games. Character swap. Okay. So, let's you know what? Let's seriously do this the right way. I mean, we could do this and we could just swap to a character. Let's swap between, you know, maybe several characters. Say we have 3 characters we want to swap between. Does that sound good to everybody? A little bit more advanced technique here, but I think it would be good. I think it would be good to do this because if we're gonna make the tutorial, we should fully flesh it out. I can't do that with a lot of the tutorials I pre-record because they rely on other things. But while you're here and you can see everything I'm doing, I feel like we should just fully flesh it out just in one go. So let's do character swap. Let's give it a character index, okay? I'm just gonna call it int index, and this will be the index of the character to swap to. Now to be able to use this, we're gonna need to know what index each character is paired with. We could do this using a map or something like that, but honestly, I'm probably just going to put their references into an array, and we will be able to swap between them. So let's do it. Let's make that. I'm trying to think. I guess they'll all be Twitch game characters for now. You know, you probably want to make them different classes, like maybe child classes of this, but we're not really doing that yet, so kind of just keep them as Twitch game character, really. So let's see, where do we want to put this? Probably at the bottom. We have T arrays in here. I'll actually put this right here. So we'll copy this line, and we will do T array, and we will do a Twitch game character. We really should do it of pointers, and then we'll call it character swap array. That's fine, probably. I mean, you know, you could call this character reference array or something if there's other things you want to do. Actually, let's do it like character reference array, excuse me, because I feel like there's a lot of uses. If you're going to have multiple characters in your game that you can swap between or maybe have separate inventories for, you want to kind of have a reference to all of them. They can all have a reference to each other, really. Like, you know, it doesn't really hurt. It's a little bit extra data, but they can all access each other for anything they need. It really shouldn't be a big deal. I think it's good. I think we'll stay like this. My phone actually froze on that, so hopefully everything is still good. But anyway, so we have our character reference array, and we're going to have to fill this out, obviously, before we can use it. But when we add things to it, if we have an index in here, we can just access the index of the T array, and then we can, you know, do things to that character. So first of all, character reference array. I forget exactly in a T array if you have to do anything else, or if I can just, or not if I have to do anything else, if I can just do it this way and this is easy. This should work. Like, I should just be able to access this safely because it's a T array. And then we'll just, you know, have to actually take that value as the pawn that we're going to possess. This character class is going to be the pawn that we're possessing. We're going to use the controller that we are to perform the possession. If you're doing multiplayer, it does get a little bit more complicated because you would need to switch. You would need to grab each controller and switch, but really it's the same process, so it's not a big deal. Alright, so we have our character swap, and we have this doesn't do anything. Okay, this is what's going to hold the value. Now, I have not possessed in code in quite some time, but I do know it's pretty simple. I just have to remember, I think we have to get the controller first, and then possess. Is it not get controller? Or wait, what did that say? Get controller. That should be right. I almost think this is a fake error. Maybe it's actually not, though. Give me 1 second. We'll get it, no problem. I just have to remember. Again, it has been some time. IntelliSense is not helping me at all. Hello? Thank you. you have to set up. You can pass through the ability, like current ability or something like that. And okay, for this one, we'll just call character swap. And we'll give it like an index for now, 0. It doesn't really matter what's going on here. Because we'll have to set this up later to go to the actual index we want and all that. But that's fine for now. So let me see. Am I like really silly? Am I being really silly here? Possess does not take 0. That's what I thought. I can't see the parameter list. All right, let me look this up again, because it should show me the parameter list on the. I can't remember if it's just the pawn or what it is. Okay, it just takes in a pawn. That's all I need to know. Why is it so hard? Why was it not showing up? Okay. So now all we should have to do is do what we had before, right here. And this will basically be the pawn. I think that's good. I don't think you have to be a certain type. We will find out when we build here. It'll tell me. I don't think you do. You do not. Cool. So this is character swap. I mean, this is not. We need to unpossess first and things like that. So when you're possessing pawns, you can only possess one pawn at a time without extra functionality. Like technically, you could possess more than one at a time. More than one pawn at a time with one controller. But if you want full control using Unreal's default system, you pretty much have to switch between them, which is what we're going for anyway here, so that's fine. But what we'll want to do first is actually we'll want to unpossess the pawn that we're already on. Unpossessed doesn't like delete the pawn or anything like that. The pawn is the character, remember, don't be confused. But what unpossessed does is it stops having the controller control that character, that pawn. And so we have to unpossess the other one first, the one that we currently have, and then we're going to possess this new character reference. We're going to pass in a new pawn here. Now the index I gave it is 0, so if I fill out this array and I'm 0, then it's going to just repossess the thing we already have. But if we do that and it works, then you know that the logic is working. Now we just need to add new characters and test it out. So let's do this. We have character swap. I don't know if I ever bound anything to ability 2. I don't believe I did yet, so I'll probably have to make a new action mapping for that. So let's load the editor, add an action mapping for the second ability, and then we will fill out the data. We can do it in code, we'll see. I'm gonna have to at least bring more into the scene. I'm debating how I want to handle that, because we could do it cheap and just bring it in, but I actually want to I kind of want to spawn them through the game mode. I don't think we've done anything with the game mode yet, have we? Yeah, we just spawned the character, which is good. But really, I should have... If I want to spawn more characters, I'm trying to debate how I could do it. We could just have more player starts and spawn them all here. Interesting. Very interesting. So what we can do is we could just spawn them here. Like I just add more player starts. These will actually spawn automatically if I actually go through them, as opposed to just getting player start 0. And that's fine. We could do that. We could just spawn one at every location for this test. That would be kind of, I think that would be good. Let me see how many, if we only have one in here to start though. We do only have one in here, okay. Player start. We can quite literally just move them to wherever we want. Doesn't really matter. This level is getting a little bit crowded, so I don't want to like make anything confusing. I'm gonna put that down there. These two can stay here. Now we have 3 player starts in the level, so let's adjust our game mode to spawn as many players as there are player starts, not just one. So we're going to loop through our player starts. I'd like to do it with the break in case we have to break down the line, but really it's not necessary. We're not going to use it right now. do anything to them or with them. They're just here, right? And you can see because of the way the player starts are, I'm spawning as this guy in the middle here. Okay, I'm not spawning as the same guy that we were. So that's important to note. And that's why I was saying we should probably set up an order, but we'll leave that alone for now. We don't need to add that right now. We can add it later. So now we have our characters spawned, and one is being possessed. Now, if we set up our input action to call the character swap function, then we should be able to determine if we want to swap between other characters. So we have ability 1. Let's make ability 2. There is a way to move them, but I can't remember how right now. It's kind of ugly that they will be separated. I use for this one? Okay, we're just going to do 2 then. Alright, so now we have ability 2, which we'll call the function. Yeah, I was going to say. I don't think we're ready for that because that array is not available. But it's calling the function. And so we need to fill out the data. Now, since we are going to do it, since we should spawn them from the game mode BP, because really the game mode is what should handle that. That or the game state, depending on how you're doing it. Then we will want to probably set it up right after there. As soon as, basically, instead of having player, we can have the player's array. And instead of having a player's array, we can just use our character reference array. Although, I think I made it blueprint visible. We'll find out. So yeah, we have the player in the game mode, which does that come from the code class then? Ah, right. We were checking if it was valid or not in there. Okay. That's what we were doing. Alright, so what we can have is we can have our array of characters in here, actually. They don't actually need a reference to each other then. We could have them have a reference to each other, or we could have a reference to the game mode and then access it from there. So actually what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to close this again, and I'm going to switch these things over a little bit. So yes, this is still good. Everything with the character reference array is good, but I want to move this over to the game mode. Instead of the player variable, I want to have basically this right here. Okay. I'm not going to call it character reference array anymore, though. I'm just going to call it players array. If we're going to have it as the game mode one, that's fine. Players array is probably fine. Let me get rid of some of this other stuff that we don't need right now. Alright, and now, so give XP to player. So we're going to need an index. So this is going to go a little bit out of our way because we are going to need to fix this one function to work for the specific player, but that's okay. So what we can do is this, give XP to player, and we can do player index. And we will have to update it everywhere. So in the call. And this is good for multiplayer anyway, if we are going to have multiple characters that we're taking care of. So players array, player index. And you can just do it right like this. Alright, now the only other thing is where that gets called, and I actually can't remember if we called it here or if we called it in Blueprint. This is the game mode. Oh, this is the generated file. Okay, I think it's only called in the Blueprint. And if that's the case, then that's perfectly fine. I just want to make sure. Okay. Anyway, now that we've done that, we will need to change the code. We took away the array, which is fine, but we need to be able to access our game mode here. I'm going to move those just because I like kind of stacking these includes and making them organized when I can. Alright, we have not included the game mode ever, so we can include it in the header file if we want and make a game mode reference. That's probably what we'll do, because I think we'll use the game mode a lot more in this one. So let's have a game mode reference. So let's do include Twitch game mode.h. Should pick up on that. Yeah, it still thinks it's... Okay. Oh, Twitch game mode, because I called it Twitch game. A little tricky there. Alright. And now we can make a variable that holds the game mode. Oh, the only problem is, I just realized I include the Twitch game character in here, so that would be a circular dependency right there. Let me do it this way instead. Well, what we could do is actually just include it there and use it as a reference. Maybe we won't use it that much. We don't really need it for that, do we? Let's see, how many times are we going to use this? We probably only use it when we're... Well, we'd only use it... That's only being called in... The function to gain experience is actually only being called in Blueprint, so... Maybe we'll just do this and take this out. Hold on, 1 minute. 1 second. I think we've already kind of gone the route. Didn't we use the game mode in here somewhere? Without having the variable? Because if we did, I'll just stick with that. 1 second to make sure of this. I know that I used it somewhere because I couldn't find Twitch game mode. Alright. I mean, it's not really a big deal. I'm just trying to get the best way to do this, and I didn't want to make a circular dependency, but I also didn't want to just include it in here if we needed it. But I'm trying to think. I think we'll be okay. We're gonna roll with it, and we'll see. If not, we can always change it. Let's include Twitch game mode in here. That should not cause an issue, as long as we didn't include it somewhere that I didn't see. And then instead of doing the character reference array here, we can get our game mode. This one I kind of forget usually how to get, so I might get game. It's like get, sorry, I forget how to get this one. Get auth game mode, that's what it is. Okay. And we're gonna take this whole thing and cast it to a Twitch game mode pointer. Sorry. Auto game mode ref equals that. Okay. So what we're doing here, sorry about that, I kind of had to think about what I was doing so that I could access it. This is getting the current game mode, basically. It's getting the game mode with authority, which is the game mode that's on the server, because the server is the only one that has the game mode. Hey, nice to see you. Mark says, hi Sean, how's it going? It's going really well, thanks for asking. We're going over abilities today. So we went over gaining abilities and being able to add them to our array, our database, and access them and give them access to our character, but we never really went over implementing some of the features they have. So we're doing a character swap right now, which would count as an ability, I would think. I mean, it's one of 3 things that we're doing, so the other ones are kind of more related to like actual things that character can do, but I kind of pieced them all together. Well, thank you so much for coming by. I'm glad you are here. Is this still... Oh no, this is just YouTube. Okay. Thought I still had the other thing open. So we get the game mode on the server, we're casting it to the type we want, and then we're setting equal to this variable if it's valid. If this variable is valid, then we can use game mode reference and then get the variable that we have. Players array, I believe it was called. And it can take the index, and that should work. I mean, I can make it type if we want. I can't tell if that's a fake error right now or not. Or does it not like the way I did that? Call it in here. I knew I'd... Oh, I did it in base enemy is what it was. I was like, I knew I called it somewhere. Okay, give XP to player. Alright, so we'll take... I'm just going to pass in a 0 arbitrarily, which is pretty bad. I should really not just do it there. I should have like a player index. But... There's no way it's been 18 years, right? Has it been that long? Because I was a wee baby at that time. I was like 5 years old. No, has it been that? It might have been that long. I can't remember if there was one recent. Like, I obviously played the originals, which was a long time ago. FPS is typically the most beginner friendly. Yeah, I would actually agree with that, but admittedly, the FPS template that they give isn't that great. I'm actually currently going through this series right now and kind of changing what they've done just because I don't honestly agree with a lot of the decisions. And that's not me trying to put them down. There's a lot of things I do that people won't agree with, so that's okay. It's just, I think that they don't really give you a lot of room to expand with it. They kind of set it up in a way that it is intentionally going to have you fail down the line if you don't change those things. So I would agree. I actually 100% agree. FPS is very beginner friendly, but if you want to make a first-person shooter, be very careful with following the way they set it up, because it's actually a little bit weird. Alright, but we got the editor open again. We did have to change the one function to use the player index, but that is fine. Now you can see... Yes, I know. Now you can see I need to change my base game mode BP to be players now, or add them to the players array instead of just setting it. So we can actually keep the functionality we have here. This possess is still a little weird. We should really possess later on the exact pawn we want, but it's actually okay for now. But the main thing we have to do is add to... Well, let's get it first. Let's get it. So get players array. Okay. We're going to say add unique. It doesn't really need to be unique. It should only be one anyway, but just to be safe, we only want to do it if it's not already in there. And we'll move this back one. It's actually like 19 years, although they remade Metroid 2 and that was new, but man, okay. No, I'm very excited about that. I love those style of games. I love, like, one of my favorite games that I played recently was The Messenger. I love The Messenger. So you can imagine I'm very excited about that. But all we did is, basically all we did the whole time we were in here is we changed the... Instead of just doing it for one player start, we do it for all player starts, and then we spawn the characters but add them to the array as opposed to just setting the one reference. Now, this will work. This will spawn the characters, and that should be pretty good. Now we can press the next button, and it will call this. But well, I was gonna say something was gonna fail before that, but it got the whole way through and crashed. Give me 1 second. What did happen here? Wait, what did happen? I thought it was gonna fail before that. Hold on, what happened? We had the character. I don't exactly know what it failed on though. Hold on. Character swap. Yeah, I know. Oh. I'm aware that it failed on this, but like, what part did it fail? I'm assuming it failed here. This is really the only part that it could fail on. But players array should have, it actually should have an index in it at that point. Access violation. Acting like it doesn't. It found this though. Oh no, this is the character. Oh. Okay. My bad. So it was using that character I mean, it is a good thing. You don't want to have like a ton of warnings, but you know, I also don't like crashing on a warning. Okay, yeah, so that's how that's gonna be. All right, hold up, we'll fix this. My apologies. I did not foresee that issue. I almost want to, I mean, we can move it in Blueprint for now, and I can actually get that to work. I'm trying to figure out if I should even. All right, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. By the way, are Blueprint interfaces the same as C++ code, or is there another practice? What, like, is Blueprint interface the same as, like, a C++ interface? I mean, I don't necessarily think there's another normal practice that you're asking for, but, yeah, they're pretty similar. Like, the Blueprint interface is basically used so that you don't have to have the specific blueprint every time, just like you don't have to cast to a specific type every time. That way you can call a function or get a variable and different things like that. You can call functions on widgets and things, on blueprints and things. So yeah, I mean, in theory, it's like the same process. I don't know internally, performance-wise, anything like that, if they're any different, but I wouldn't be concerned that there's like another normal process. People definitely use them. They use either or all the time. All right, so what we're gonna do real quick, just to make sure that I'm on the right track and I know what the issue is I'm actually going to do a few things here. So first of all, I want to make sure I have this right. This is being entity array, and that is a Twitch game character. And this is a Paladin character BP, which Paladin character BP should be a child of this. But just before I go crazy, if this doesn't work, let's make sure it is a child of Twitch game character. Okay. Alright, so maybe it is though. Maybe that is the issue too. So there's two potential things I think might be the issue. For now, what we can do is literally, whoops. We can literally unpossess immediately after, and I just want to see, I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay, so that works. And then we want to possess. And what we'll do, we're gonna do something janky here. This isn't what we're actually doing, don't worry. I'm not actually using this. I'm testing something out. Does this fail, or will this let me do that? Okay, so I actually did not get player character. Oh. Okay, so that would work. That would work. The problem comes in. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's do this then. We have to switch this up a bit. So I'm gonna actually move this over. Dang it, and I just got it in here too, but that's fine. All right. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying, but that's fine. Let's move it over. We're gonna. I'll explain what happened once we get it working, because then I'll be able to show it. Dang it. We were so close, guys, to having it completely correct on the first try. Alright, let's go in here one more time. Oh, really? It just said, nope. It said, you do not save. Okay. I'm also wondering if I just... Hold on. Let me try something else, too. Yeah, so, like, I did cast for a lot of my items, but if we're talking, like, lots of inventory items, lots of different types of items, interface would be better. We can actually cover interfaces. It's a good thing to cover. I would probably cover it personally, because I don't like to do everything like how you would have an endgame, because when you're explaining code to somebody, or when it's being explained to me, if I'm told a certain thing, then I'll probably want to use it that way. And so I don't want to go overboard and be like, oh, you do this for everything, because it is a learning process, right? When I started out, and I'm still learning all the time, when I started out learning, you know, I didn't use functions all that much. And people said, oh, use functions, use functions. Well, I never used functions. I did what I learned originally, and that's good. You kind of have to come to these on your own. Like, I can show it, and then it should make sense, but me personally, I wouldn't listen if someone was just like, oh yeah, just use this all the time. I didn't know why. So yeah, like, you're totally right. Interface would be great, and I probably should cover that. So we might have to make a few things where it's just like an actual learning episode there. All right, so you see this this right here is a problem, because you see how I can press the button and it doesn't actually possess anybody? So the code possess is not working like the blueprint possesses. I think it's because I'm actually making a reference to this here and grabbing that from the array, as opposed to having the player's array in the game mode. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on, because of the fact that when I did it in the blueprint, it worked. And it would have the same type anyway. But this was a copy of it and not where it was actually stored. So I think that is why. And the solution would be either switch this over to the game mode, or just call the event that does it in blueprint. I wanted to do it in code because I wanted to be fancy. I normally do not unpossess and possess in code because at work we do it strictly in blueprint because of the way it's set up and the order of things. But I think I'm just going to switch it over to blueprint. There's really no reason to make my life harder to prove a point and waste our time when we could just do it in blueprint. You know, I'm not picky. I like my certain things in code and certain things in blueprint, but I adapt to the situation. In this case, we already have the logic in blueprint, so why not just keep it there? Yeah, I agree on teaching that methodology. One of my mentors in 3D always gave 10 different examples on how to use something he thought, so you just spark the ideas. Exactly, right? And that is true. Like, I'm really not making excuses for myself. I'm not saying, oh, I didn't teach that the right way. You know, oh, but it was just part of the learning process. No, I swear I'm not doing that. You guys catch me on things all the time, and you're like, no, you can do it this way, and I'm just like, yeah, that's actually better. I should have done that. There are times for sure, specifically with the fighting game tutorial, because here's the thing. A lot of people are coming to the fighting game tutorial as beginners, fresh beginners. And so I do not want to confuse anyone by telling them that, right? You just said it yourself. Like, it's something they kind of have to learn on their own, because I can point them in the right direction. When I know it, I need to be pointing in the right direction too. So I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to say I can do it and that's it. No. I can point them in the right direction, but they do kind of need to learn it on their own, because that's when it's really going to stick and they're going to know when to use it. So, you know, I did not do interface. I didn't feel it was necessary, but yes, if you're making a shop and you have tons of items and you have even different types of shops, you're probably going to definitely want an interface. The live! Hey, nice to see you! glad you made it. How's it going? Alright guys, so I apologize for wasting, like, well, it wasn't really a waste. We all learned something, right? But I apologize that this did not work firsthand if you're copying this and see this. I'm actually going to just basically convert this over to an implementable event and then use this in the blueprint, since we know that works. So let's do that. Let me close this. And what we're going to do is make an event that we can call in blueprint. Sorry, where the heck is it? Character swap. So what we can do is make this an event. Sorry for repeating myself like 5 times. And then we don't need to fill out any data here or even have this function body. But we can just call character swap like this with the index. Now, for now, we're going to need an index, okay? We're going to need to determine how to, you know, how we know what index we want. But I will leave that alone, and I will just put in 0 for now. That will be what we cover once we get the swap working. And now we can load this up, and I should just be able to cover the event, unpossess the current pawn, and possess with, you know, the index that we're given when we use the ability. And that should be perfectly fine. So we will do that. But I realized if this works, then I'm almost positive it's what I was talking about with the copy. And I realized something was weird when I wasn't able to just switch off of the array itself. I had to grab the index. You shouldn't have to do that. So I think it's because it was a copy. We're gonna learn right here if it was or not. So change character. What was it? Switch character? Swap character? I think it was. What the heck was it? And we don't have a game mode reference already, so we're also good on that end. Sorry for the sidetrack questions. No, don't be sorry. How would you avoid tick, by the way? Relying on tick too much or smart ways to approach that, since I remember a lot of people say stay away from tick. Alright, so as far as tick goes, they exaggerate a little bit, but they exaggerate because people have used tick too much in the past. The tick itself is not very bad. In fact, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of function calls that occur on tick before you even do anything. And it works fine. It doesn't slow down your game. The problem is, like, people will do sometimes an entire loop on tick. I mean, loop, like a single loop is okay, but what I was going to say is, like, a big loop on tick where you're, like, casting and then converting to this type and saying it's equal to that. And then you just have your whole, eventually, you have your whole project in tick. And that's the problem. Adding things to tick is really not a big deal. Every actor ticks unless you turn it off. So you have all those actors ticking. I mean, I'm gonna be honest here, and a lot of people probably wouldn't like to hear this, but I'm gonna tell the truth from my experience. So where I work, I can't say what I do. We have over 3,000 actors in the scene for like our smallest case. There are scenarios where we have over 10,000 actors. And in both of those cases, they all have tick enabled at the current point. We had a task actually turned off to save some performance, but we were still able to run over 45 FPS. And understand, it's not a game, it's a simulation where we have really, really high-res models and things, and it's intended to, basically be as realistic as possible. So we weren't, without even trying to increase performance at that point. We were able to do that. So, yeah, I mean, tick, you know, what people say about tick is exaggerating a little bit. You don't want to do everything on tick, absolutely not. But don't really be afraid to use it. Just, if you can use it using events or things like that, if you don't need it to be on tick, don't put it there. That's all. Definitely respect tick. Like, again, like I said, don't put everything in there. It can hurt your program. But the people saying stay away from tick are really, it's a suggestion to avoid it as much as possible. You don't have to actually like, actively not put things there if it's something you need to be there. With that said, you had asked, how do you avoid tick, relying on tick too much? So avoid tick, you can disable actors from ticking. Actually, it's right here. So if you're in an actor, if you're in Blueprint, you can do this in code too. There's start with tick enabled. You can enable it or disable it. You can stop tick before begin play. And you can also change the tick frequency. Okay? See, 0 will tick every frame. Tick even when paused. You can change all these things about tick. And that's pretty much all you need, I mean, to be completely honest. You can just flat out start with it disabled or disable it, and then you won't ever use it if you don't need it. A lot of actors do need it for different things that they do. So if they do need it, then you use it when you need it. And that's okay. But don't be afraid of it. Tick is good. It just make sure you treat it with respect. Alright, so character swap. We have our event in here, and it's going to have our index for the character. And all we have to do, we can do a cast here. We probably should make a reference because I like making references, but I think it's cleaner. But this is the only time we're using the game mode for right now in the character. So, oh, hold on. What did I call it? Did I call it default? Did I call it base? Wait, hold on. Cast 2. Wait, did I? No. What the heck did I call it? Base game mode BP. Oh. Didn't I do that? Sorry, I just didn't see it, I guess. Anyway, we want this type, and then that way we can actually, we're gonna call an event in here that's gonna do the logic we want. For the record, you should be able to do this in the game mode code class if you'd rather do the code in there. But at this point, since I already have the blueprint event, I feel it's a little unnecessary to switch between them. Alright, that's understandable. Some initial, like some stuff to clean it up so it's not as bad. So you might have to be more careful if you go outside of Unreal, but that's my personal experience with it, so I just wanted to let you know. I will always take the time to explain an answer that I give because I don't want to give any fake answers. If I don't know something, I want to tell you the truth. I'm not here to pretend I know how to code and then give you the wrong stuff. I do know how to code and I do know how to make games, but there's always new things you can learn. So yeah, I will always take the time to try and explain it because people can then say, hey, you're wrong, or hey, I would do it this way, and that's perfectly fine. You're not going to learn if you always think that you're the smartest or the brightest. And I've learned so much by doing this YouTube channel, all the series that I work on. So I'm going to keep just doing it that way. If nothing else, if we're being completely honest, if nothing else, I'm learning from it so I can make better videos and better games in the future. So hopefully everyone else can learn from it. That is my goal. But at the very least, I am learning from it. So hopefully my tutorials in the future are even higher quality. So I will always tell you the truth and take the time. Alright, so I don't really like them doing this in the game mode BP. I rather would have just done it in the code, but if this works, then at least I know what the issue is, and we can talk about how to avoid it. We're going to say, I know I have the one with character swap. I'm going to call it swap character, and it is going to need the index. And if this works, we will just call the game mode version, okay? But I want to see if it works before we go through the trouble of doing that, because otherwise it's going to be a waste of time. Cheers, right? I mean, hey, I'm glad you're here. I love coding, and I'm happy that you're here hanging out. So if you ask any question, I'm going to give my honest answer. Anyway, look, this is what we want. This is what we should do now. Again, if this works, I will just remove the character function, and we will call it the game mode. So no worries. We're going to clean this up in 1 second. We are going to still use getPlayerController0 here because I don't have a player index that I'm specifically looking for. We could technically make the index the player controller index, but really right now it's a character index. So I'll get more into this if we actually get into multiple people controlling it. If it's just one player controlling it on the keyboard and switching characters, there's no reason to do that right now. Now, we are getting a copy of the character, but I don't think it liked the copy of the game mode more than anything. We'll find out. Something like that. It's pretty ugly, but you get the point. Yeah, I don't like that at all. But that's good enough. Okay. And then we want to possess. Alright, that's pretty ugly. I don't usually like to make my things look like that, but that's fine. Remember, this will be removed if this works, because I can then fix it and just call it the game mode event. But we're going to test it for now, because I would rather have it a function call from the character. There we go. And you can see I character swap. Now right now, I'm only giving it one index, okay? I'm only ever giving it index 0, so it's only ever going to let me swap to that character. And that's what we need to adjust to make this finalize. But I do want to organize this a bit better, and I'm pretty sure I can entirely remove this event, call it in the game mode, since it'll be the actual game mode and not a copy, and this will work. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the copy, it's okay. It's on me. I basically made a copy, a reference to the game mode in the character, and was trying to use that to access the array, but I don't think it liked the way I did that with the unpossess and possess. Because when I did it right from the game mode that actually has the characters, it works fine. So basically, just follow along with this, and if this works, this is the true test, then we will be golden. So what I need to do now is I actually want to remove the swap character function, and I'll keep the functionality there. We're going to close Unreal. I'm going to get rid of the character swap event here. And instead, we're going to make it in the game mode. And I'm going to call it swap character, because I think swap character is actually better than character swap. And it is going to have the index still, okay? Now, the only issue with this is that when we call swap character, we're not giving it the controller, which the character was going to benefit us with. But we don't need to do that right now anyway. So we can just pass along the character when we want if we do multiplayer, and it'll work fine. instead of having all these other events, I can just do swap character from the game mode. We will need to bring back the stuff that I had copied here. Alright, swap character. There we go. It took, and now this should work if it's the issue that I thought it was. So then we can still have it in code, and we'll just do the unpossessed and possessed logic in the game mode. Sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but I think it's worth it. To be fair, the other, if we go to do anything with like the dash, that'll be very quick. The projectile might have to be its own episode. Alright, and now all we have to do is hook this back up. And we should be golden. And then if this works, we could change it to game to just make it just be a function in the game mode if we wanted to make it strictly code. What did I? Oh yeah, I have the other event in here. So I'm gonna I'll cut it so that I can look at it if I need it later. There we go, and it worked. So now you can see that we were able to swap characters just by doing this event. If we really want to try, I can try in the code again. Oh, I think the issue is actually with the way I was getting the reference character in the code. All right, we'll try it. Let's see if we can do it in the code now that we know that that works. So I'll leave this alone. We just won't call that. Instead, what we're going to do is this. We're going to grab the game mode. And, well, we're going to grab controller. Let's get controller, just like we had in the past. And we're going to call unpossessed. We do need to unpossess regardless of anything else. That needs to be done. And then we're going to try and call this. And we're going to call possess, just like we want. And we're going to use this game mode, which is we're not using auto. We're not using the auto generated, the auto keyword, which generates the type. We're using the actual game mode pointer, and we're going to use the actual game mode array. And if this doesn't work, then it's the character references, because it's the blueprint class paladin character when I'm trying to use a Twitch game mode character. If it does work, then great. Awesome. But if it doesn't, I'm almost positive that's what it is. I say almost because I don't like to confirm if I haven't tested it, but I have a high suspicion if this doesn't work. So we're going to grab our players array, and we're going to do it right here for the game mode now. And we're going to use index, which in this case we don't have one, so I will pass along 0. All right. I should really put this in like a swap character function. I realized I deleted that when really it was kind of useful to us, but it's fine. I just hate that it's usability too, but it's specifically swap character at the moment. All right. So now we're unpossessing, and we're going to possess this pawn at that controller. Again, if it doesn't work, we will leave it alone for the rest of the episode. I mean, we'll do more. I'll switch around the indices so we can possess the other controllers and swap between them and stuff. But I'll leave it alone in the code. That way we don't waste the rest of the time to try and figure that out when we already have a working solution here. Everglade says, awesome, right? It feels pretty good. It's very exciting. Okay, yep, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Because the value is valid, but it doesn't like it. And I think it's because of it being a paladin character. So. Hey, what's up, Snatchin'? So nice to see you. Anyway, we'll just take this out for now. I will research. It might actually be because it's not in the game mode. It might be a function that wants to be in the game mode. I wonder when you unpossess the character if you can still possess using that controller, or if the logic in the function ceases to exist. Because you can definitely possess in the game mode. I want to look at it. Can I do, is it possible to do like get controller, or like get player controller and pass in the index in code? Maybe not though. because I could pass along the control. It's fine. It's fine. I could pass along the controller and do it in the game mode and test it, but we already have it here. I'm pretty sure I know what the issue is, so I'm gonna have to check after this and figure it out. But people the wrong idea and think, oh, I'm just winging it. I'm not. I just sometimes I try and do things that, you know, I've never necessarily tried before. So that's part of the live coding. That like bounced up and hit me in the glasses. Did you see that? Okay. I think I have some on my nose too. All right. Such as limited time transformation. Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, Everglades. So yes, this is for the side scroller tutorial, but this is all there is to it. You know, you can play an animation and then quickly swap the possess, and you would have your fighting game assist as well. All it takes is, you know, you play the animation prior, like the character jumping in, has root motion, whatever, and when you want, snap, you're playing as the new character. It's that easy. It looks like a complicated mechanic in something like Unreal Engine. It is not. There are some complications to it because you have to be careful when you're unpossessing and possessing that you do the right thing with the pawns, but as you can see, I was crashing there. But really, once you get it solved like once and have it working, it's never gonna break because you're probably not gonna be possessing and unpossessing 1,000 times. You're just gonna do it that one case whenever they press the button or character dies, whatever. Anyway, character index. I never added it, did I? We're gonna need a character index for each character because they're gonna need to know what one they are in the array for the game mode. Alright, you could put it in the game mode and have an array like I do in the Platform Fighter series, but this is a little bit different. The reason I have that array is so that I can keep track of everyone for other things. This is only going to be for swapping and accessing the data. So I shouldn't really need this because we're not separating, like, this is not connecting the players in any way. This is just setting up the characters and how we can swap between them. If we want to set them up like character select or something, that can be done too, and it can be done separately. So I'm not ruling anything out, I'm just letting you know character index is for that reason. I'm using it so that everybody knows what index they are and we know what to calculate. So we don't need to do this from the game mode. It's going to be the character index of the character plus 1 basically. However, hold on, we're passing along the character index. We're going to call swap character on that index. So we need to know if the array is bigger than the value that we're trying to pass in, and if so, we need to reset the loop. Okay, so we get the game mode, then we do if game mode players array dot num. This is the number of elements is greater than character index. Greater than equal to? Hold on. Let me think about this. Might need to be greater than equal to. So num is not index. Okay? Index starts at 0. Num will tell you the actual number of elements. So we have 3 in this case. Num is going to be 3. So for 0, 1, 2, it would still take it. We don't want that. So we want num minus 1. If playersArray.num minus 1, so if it's 1, it'll be 0. If it's 2, it'll be 1. If it's 3, it'll be 2, is greater than the character index. We still have another index we could go. So we'll do character index plus 1. Or you can do greater than equal to, and then don't do plus 1 either way. And add it later. But we're going to pass in plus 1 then. Otherwise, if it's not. Have you played Cuphead? I have. Cuphead was one of my favorite games of last year. I think that's when I played it. It didn't come out last year, but that's when I played it. And yeah, it was awesome. Great game. I went through, I got all the achievements. I don't think I actually got the S rank all bosses. I beat, there were just a few like miscellaneous ones I didn't beat. I do intend on going back, I just haven't yet. I'll probably go back like 5 years from now and do it, because that's for some reason why I play games. But yeah, I did. I love the heck out of that game. Alright, so if it is, then we can still add to it. Otherwise, character index just needs to be set back to 0. Because basically, we're always going to be trying to go one in the chain, but we also want to increase the index number. Yeah, so as long as it's minus 1, as long as this is true, there will always be 1 next. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Everglades. Okay, I think that's good. We will need to set up the indices when we add them to the array, but I think we're good. So now, we're going to give the index, when we spawn the character and add them to the array, there's a return value of the index in the array where that is stored. We're going to use that, subtract 1 from it, so we get, oh wait, I don't think you need to subtract 1 from it, because it's not the number. It should be at the index. I think we're just going to use that and set the character index to it. Right here. So on add unique, it has the index of where it was at, and we also have the player right here. Actually, we don't have the player because we never added to it. Well, what we can do is this. We can just drag off of this. Oh, this is get a copy. We don't want to do that either. here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do set array element. Yeah, this is Is that what it was too? Really, I don't need to be doing possess here, by the way. But okay, so add unique, add character index. At that index, set array element. What am I doing incorrectly? Let's print out the string. 3. So if it's 3, the num will be 3. Wait, the character index was 3? The index I gave it was 3. I gave it character index plus 1. Oh, I think that's my mistake. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what well, I didn't misunderstand, but I did it in the wrong spot. So we need to check if we can swap to the next index, not the current index. Because even if it was greater, when you pass it one more value, like when you pass it 3, then it wouldn't make sense for it to do anything. I was limiting how many chances I had. My only question is, will I be able to swap off of that with num? Because I'll have 2, I'll have 3, it won't be greater. But it will fail and it should go to 0. I think that'll fix it. Forgot to say, character swapping makes me think of the Cave Thomas Was Alone Trine series. We have multiple abilities for each character. Yeah, I think actually we will. Like, I know this is called implementing abilities, but I actually feel like this was kind of the wrong name, because swapping characters took up the whole name. So I'll probably switch that. Okay, so I can swap between 2 characters. Let me oh wait, this is already supposed to be printing. How's it printing? 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Item. Guys, you can see that the experience bar only is going for player character 0, because, and that's intended, because that's what we set it to, get player character 0, back in the day. So only the one character got the experience. Now we will need to actually change that to make it work, but that's more of a multiplayer thing. But in fact, since we already have the character swapping like this, we might want to set that up in the next episode. We'll leave the other abilities out for now, and we'll just go with this. We can do projectiles as their own episode, though, as well. But that should be pretty much good. But is this the bronze key door thing? This pops up all the time. It does not like, I think it doesn't like, I don't know though, because if it failed, it should have just left it alone, really. Okay, well, whatever. Alright, so, cool. Yeah, I should make a custom function for this. We'll call it swap character. Or take control of next character. We'll do, since that's how it's doing it. We could have several functions, okay, that do that. And then that function we'll call swap character. Okay? So let's do that. Let's make that. That way it's actually usable in our game, but we do have other things we could do. So we do that, take control of next character. Then we're going to go ahead and add this function. And so see, by having this function here, take control of the next character, then this will always take control of the next character. But now if you want to use the swapping functionality, you can just pass a different index and it'll work. So we could say take control of last character, take control of first character, or whatever, and change it based on the character that has that data. So by having characters, right? Do we like that as the title? Swapping between characters. I think that's good. Swapping between characters, that's what we'll call it. There we go. Change has been made. So my apologies for calling it implementing abilities, but this is as much as we got to today. I'll probably update the thumbnail as well. And there you go. So cool, guys. That's pretty much all I think we're going to go over today, unless there's anything else you want to see. Let me know if there's anything you want to see involving swapping characters, because we will do that. We can probably do that right now if it's quick, but otherwise I don't want to start anything new, so we'll wrap up. I'll give it like 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, I'll give it like a minute or two. Let me know if there's anything else you can think of, and then if not, we'll just wrap up, and that's perfectly fine. But if there's also any questions you have, we have a little bit extra time, so we can do it now. In the meantime, I could make my thumbnail if I wanted to. I think my account information will pop up, though, if I did that. So I might have to do a be right back. So I'll probably just leave it like this and do it after. Trying to think if there's anything. Okay, what I'll do is I'll talk about the next things that I have planned, and then if no one says anything, that's perfectly fine, but we will just end the stream there. So the next things I have planned, we probably will actually do a little bit of taking control of the other characters. Doesn't necessarily have to be local multiplayer. We could go over that, but it could also just be like taking control of a character and then setting that to be the character that is getting the experience and things like that. Because we are using get player character 0 in some places. We made the assumption it would be solo on purpose. I knew it was going to change. And we could go ahead and adjust that now, actually, to where that wasn't the case anymore. Where we had it, working where there's, multiple characters in play, and it determines what character is being possessed by the controller, or maybe what character by that instance, depending on how you want to do it. And so we'll cover that pretty soon. I also want to cover... I do want to cover projectiles. I know Timo was asking about projectiles, and I think it's an important one. It's a cool one. So it could be something we definitely cover. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I specifically want to cover right away. Probably just those two things, so let me know if you have any other ideas. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you want to come check out any of my other series, then feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you can check out, I do a fighting game, a platform fighter, side scroller, this one, the third person tutorial, and the first person shooter tutorial series. I recently just did a one I'm pretty proud of on the first person shooter tutorial series. I used blend space 2D to make the little character walk in the area you're walking, which, I mean, yes, like you can have them rotate the whole time, but this will allow them to actually move the given direction while still looking in the direction you're looking on screen and things like that. So it's a pretty fun one. But otherwise, guys, it looks like there's not any other questions for right now. You can always ask them in the comments or in the Discord. I will answer. So yeah, just let me know if you have anything. But I'm going to end a few minutes early. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm Shawnthebro, and I will see you in the next one. See you next week. We'll be back 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want to watch the next live stream. So yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you later. Real quick, Everglades said, thank you for all your hard work in making learning coding less scary, also showing us the mistakes that aren't the end of the world. Hey, absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to click into this so that you don't have like 5 screens, like streamception. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I just got another notification. Zach Cook, thank you so much for the subscription. I appreciate that a lot. Everglades, for your comment. Hey, it's no problem. Thank you so much for being here and for asking questions. You know, that's my whole goal, is to make programming less scary, for real. I mentioned it earlier, but, you know, I'm learning too. Everyone's learning. And I feel like that information